Hello, everyone, and welcome to our group presentation on international leadership analysis, Trudeau and Guterres. In this presentation, we will critically examine the leadership styles of two influential global leaders, Justin Trudeau, former Prime Minister of Canada, and Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. This assessment forms part of our module coursework on international leadership, 7030 SSL. This presentation focuses on analyzing the leadership styles of Justin Trudeau and Antonio Guterres using established leadership theories. The aim is to evaluate how different theories explain real-world leadership behaviors and decisions. Leadership theory gives us a structured way to interpret how leaders influence followers, handle complexity, and enact change. For Trudeau, we apply transformational leadership and behavioral theory to explore his value-driven and people-oriented leadership. For Guterres, we apply path-go theory and a blend of servant and disruptive leadership to evaluate how he navigates international diplomacy and drives institutional reform. These theories present both traditional and modern approaches, helping us understand not only what these leaders do, but how they adapt their leadership to specific cultural and global challenges. Now, let's look deeper into the background and political context of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau served as Canada's 23rd Prime Minister from 2015 to 2025 and leads the center-left Liberal Party. His political ideology focuses on social inclusion, climate action, gender equality, and multiculturalism. Trudeau's leadership gained global attention for forming Canada's first gender-balanced cabinet in 2015, delivering COVID-19 relief via the CEROB program, and maintaining a strong international image on issues like climate and equity. Canada's political culture values transparency, bilingualism, and Indigenous reconciliation, all of which shape Trudeau's leadership approach. The multicultural and progressive context allows for a leadership style that emphasizes empathy, participation, and ethical governance. These values have become core to his identity as a transformational and people-centric leader. With this background, we can now apply the transformational leadership model to better understand how Trudeau connects with and inspires his followers, both domestically and globally.
As we apply this transformational leadership theory on Justin Trudeau, it involves inspiring followers to exceed expectation through vision, motivation, and personal development. Trudeau demonstrates these qualities by promoting an inclusive and forward-thinking agenda. His climate policy, commitment to multiculturalism, and creation of Youth Council all reflect a strong moral vision. Justin Trudeau's announcement of Canada's gender equal cabinet, because in 2015 highlighted his symbolic leadership and commitment to social reform. He motivates citizens not just by policy, but through values, particularly equalities and sustainability. His inclusive rhetoric and visionary speeches appeal emotionally and ideologically to Canadians, especially young voters and minority communities. Trudeau's leadership aligns well with transformational principles, positioning him as a leader who brings ethical and long-term change. In our next slide, we analyze how Trudeau's behavior reflects his leadership style using the behavioral theory model to examine tasks, versus people orientation.
In this slide, we'll be looking at Trudeau behavioral style theory. Behavioral leadership theory shifts the focus from threat to observable action, specifically how leaders balance task-oriented and people-oriented behavior. Trudeau clearly demonstrates a strong people-oriented leadership style. His actions, such as launching the Youth Council, promoting diversity, and publicly supporting mental health and indigenous rights, all this highlights his empathetic and participative approach. In press briefings, especially during the COVID-19 crisis, he spoke directly to vulnerable groups and used inclusive language. For example, he televised addresses in 2020 emphasized compassion, unity, and hope. All these showcases his emotional intelligence. And in this slide, we'll be looking at Trudeau's leadership on theoretical integration. Trudeau's leadership is best understood when combining transformational and behavioral theories. Transformational theory captures his vision agenda seen in the climate policy, refugee support, and gender equality, while the behavioral theory explains his people's focused communication style. Together, all these offer a fuller view of how he motivates and engages followers. Although both theories also have limits, they often idealize leadership and may understate the political compromises involved. For example, despite his inclusive theoretic, Trudeau has faced criticism over ethnic violations and pipeline projects. Trudeau's leadership highly influenced by Canada political culture, which values consensus, social justice, and multiculturalism.
Okay, looking at the background on Antonio Guterres. Antonio Guterres has served as a UN Secretary General since the year 2017, leading global efforts on peace, human rights, and sustainable development. Before this, he was Portugal's Prime Minister from the year 1995 to 2002, and later served as a UN High Commission for Refugees. His political roots in Portugal's Socialist Party reflects a lifelong commitment to social justice and equity. As Secretary General, Guterres faces immense global challenges, which includes climate change, humanitarian crisis, armed conflict, and governance reforms. His leadership requires multilateral negotiation, diplomatic neutrality, and strategic coordination across 119 UN member states. From spearheading the UN's climate response to advocating for displaced populations, his work reflects both administrative skills and moral leadership. His earlier political experience and deep understanding of international systems make him exceptionally equipped to handle the ethical and practical demands of global diplomacy in an increasingly fractured world. Theory. Here we'll be looking at path goal theory. This path goal theory suggests how leaders help followers achieve goals by clarifying the path, removing obstacles, and choosing a style directive, supportive, participative, or achievement-oriented based on followers' needs and context. Guterres demonstrates these theories in action across several domains. As UN Secretary General, he acts as a facilitator among diverse global actors, aligning goals across countries. His refugee advocacy, rooted in his UNHCR leadership, reflects supportive behavior and prioritizing vulnerable populations. In climate diplomacy, he engages In climate diplomacy, he engages nations to adopt unified targets, reflecting participative leadership. This includes our common unified targets, reflecting participative leadership. Sorry. Let me come again. This includes our common agenda initiative illustrates how he simplifies complex issues into shared global missions by tailoring his approach depending on political, humanitarian, or institutional barriers. Guterres exemplifies the flexibility aligned impact goal theory. His leadership improves cooperation by empowering stakeholders and clarifying institutional pathways to collective goals. Looking at servant leadership and disruptive leadership. Servant leadership focuses on putting first the needs of others, especially the marginalized, while disruptive leadership challenges existing systems to drive transformation. Guterres reflects on both. As a servant leader, he continuously advocates for human rights, displaced populations, and equity, placing vulnerable groups at the heart of UN policy. His approach to SDG implementation emphasizes dignity, inclusion, and global cooperation. Simultaneously, he embraces disruptive leadership by criticizing global power imbalances, pushing for UN reform, and confronting rich nations over climate inaction. For instance, he publicly condemned unequal vaccine access and raised concerns about unregulated AI. This dual approach demonstrates courage and integrity. Guterres blends traditional diplomatic restraint with moral boldness, making it an increasingly rare combination in global leadership. These qualities distinguish him as both a stabilizer and change agent on the world stage.
Yeah, in this slide, we'll be critically evaluating Guterres' leadership. Guterres' leadership style is multifaceted. Paul Gutierrez explained his focus on aligning global stakeholders and moving institutional barriers. Meanwhile, servant and disruptive leadership highlight his ethical convictions and willingness to challenge systematic injustice. The combination of these theories reflects his adaptability in responding to global complexity in high-stake environment, in balanced pragmatism with principles, building coalitions while speaking uncomfortable truths. His effectiveness stems from moral credibilities, which strengthen his ability to mediate and lead reforms. But however, operating within a political structure like the United Nations limits his authority, requiring persuasions over command. Still, Guterres' leadership demonstrates how soft power, consistency, and ethical clarity can achieve impact in multilateral system. Literature reports support that such integration styles are increasingly essential in the pragmatic world we are today. We'll continue to compare and analyze the two leadership of Guterres and Antonio and Trudeau. But in this slide, you see that they share the same similarities. Both are ethically driven, committed to global engagement, use soft power to inspire changes. They champion human rights, equity, and sustainability in their respective roles. But however, their leadership context differs significantly. Traders operate with a national political framework, navigating public opinions, elections, and domestic policies, while Guterres lead a multilateral institutions, which requires diplomatic consensus and neutrality. This difference shaped their communication style. Trudeau is charismatic and populist, while Guterres is caution, principle-based, and globally strategic. These contextual differences affect how leadership theories apply. Behavioral and transformational theories suit Churchill's national rules, while Pat's good and servant-stroke disruptive theories align better with Antonio Guterres' global positions. The comparison shows that effective leadership in context depends. The same theory may manifest different depending on institutional constraint, audience, and cultural expectation.
In conclusion, leadership theory allows us to better understand how individuals like Trudeau and Guterres operate in vastly different yet influential roles. Trudeau exemplifies transformational and people-oriented leadership, driven by values and public engagement. Guterres, in contrast, demonstrates adaptive, ethical, and facilitative leadership, shaped by the complexity of global governance. Using multiple theories, which are transformational, behavioral, part-goal, servant, and disruptive, enables a richer and more accurate analysis. It highlights the intersection of personality, context, and leadership function. This analysis underscores that no single theory is sufficient. Leaders operate across overlapping domains and shifting demands. Understanding theory not only aids academic analysis, it also prepares us to lead effectively in a world that requires both empathy and strategy. Leadership today means being bold, ethical, and responsive to the needs of both people and systems. Thank you very much